success comes when you just are a great teammate and work your ass off. And people want to be around you and they know that you got their back. Like you're in the foxhole with them. That's the greatest place they could be because you're going to take care of them.
Okay, welcome back, or welcome to the Finding Mastery podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Gervais, by trade and training a high-performance psychologist. And I'm honored to welcome back to the podcast a living legend of women's soccer. This week's conversation is with none other than the Julie Foudy. Julie is a favorite here at Finding Mastery, and her impact here and beyond stems from so much more than her accolades, and they are legit. She is a 2-time FIFA World Cup champion. She's a 3-time Olympic medalist, 2 gold and 1 silver. She's a member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame, and she's also an energizing voice in the world of women's sports, on camera as an ESPN analyst and commentator, and off as former president of the Women's Sports Foundation. Her voice extends to the page, screen, and airwaves as well. Julie has her own podcast, Laughter Permitted with Julie Foudy. She's authored 2 incredible books. She's produced several documentaries. And these days, she can also be seen in the newly released HBO docuseries, Angel City. And that's about the Los Angeles-based women's soccer team, Angel City Football Club, of which she is a proud owner and investor. And if you don't know, this organization has an incredible story that you will hear about in the conversation. So Julie and I cover a lot of important ground here. We talk about the cultural shift that's happening in women's sport, how to be a great parent for young athletes, the importance of bringing joy to everything we do, and why we is always greater than me. She is a winner. She is a champion of other women winning too. And it's clear that her commitment to women in sports will reverberate for generations to come. So with that, I am thrilled to dive into this week's conversation with the one, the only, Julie Foudy. Julie, it is great to see you. And it's hard to believe it's been 4 years since we last
met.
Yes,
Come on.
4 years.
You're like 7,000 episodes in. Come on, Michael.
And you're plus 100. Like, yeah, it's awesome.
What are you at? How many?
I think we're over 500 at this point. Somewhere in that range.
Oh my gosh. Do you get like a gold watch at 500? Do you get a medal? You should be given an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, good. I'm getting in line. I formed a line, but I'm not sure who's actually giving them out. We're just standing
I'm in line. I'm waiting.
Yeah,
I'm waiting.
Right. So there's so much that's happened in the world around us. And one of the things that's been really fun is to see your involvement with Angel City FC. And
I should have worn my Angel City hat instead of my Be Here Now hat. Yes.
That's a good hat, though. The Be Here Now is a good hat.
Yeah, it is a good hat. Oh, Angel City has been so fun. Yeah, that's right. So 4 years ago, it was just like a twinkle in the eye by Natalie Portman, who is amazing, as we all know. I mean, she is Thor. So, of course, she's amazing. But yeah, that's been really fun. I'm part of that ownership group. There's actually 14 of us players on that ownership group, Michael.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So it literally, full disclosure, is a big party. Every home game, it's like, reunion, let's go. Who's in? We have a whole WhatsApp group. It's so fun.
How did it come about? So she had an idea, and was the idea, like, what was the origin story of ownership?
So the origin story, and there is that new HBO Max documentary out on it, which is fantastic, 3-part series that Natalie did with her production group. But the origin story is that she was listening to Abby Wambach, a former stud women's soccer player, give a speech about her retirement. And Abby was talking at a Time's Up, Me Too, Time's Up kind of meeting that Natalie was a part of. And Abby was talking about how when she retired and she's accepting this award at the ESPYs from ESPN, and she's alongside Peyton Manning and Kobe Bryant. And she's like, the 3 of us are getting honored for our careers. And it just hit me, Abby's telling the story, it just hit me that, oh my gosh, the 3 of us are being honored in the same way, but we have very different realities. Like, I'm worried about what my next job is so I can have health insurance. And they're thinking about the millions of dollars they have invested and where they're going to spend it. And so Natalie was struck by that and that reality and was like, why is that, one? And two, why don't we have a professional women's soccer team here in LA? And why can't we start one? And so Kara Nortman, enter Kara Nortman, another founding investor and um, and founder of Angel City alongside Natalie. She sat on the board of the Me Too movement, of the Time's Up movement with Natalie, and is an awesome venture capitalist, amazing woman. And Natalie turned to Kara and said, come on, let's figure this out. And so the two of them found Julie Ehrman, the third founder, who is our president now, and who also comes kind of from the tech startup world, venture capital world, is super smart athlete, not a soccer player, basketball player. They played basketball together, her and Kara. And the three of them went about starting this. And thank God they did, because one, it's just so much fun, of course, which is my principle to living in life in my 50s now. Just find the fun. And two, it's really changing the way people think about women's sports. It really is. Like, it's been a roadmap for a lot of people, and they're so willing to share that roadmap. And that's the thing that I love as well, is it's not just, hey, this is a really good thing we have to have women's sports here. It's like, this is a profitable business. That's profit and purpose and passion and all these P's we care about.
That is perfect. All the P's that we care about.
They're perfect. Yes.
And yeah,
not perfect, but it's close to.
It's that, like, I said that because it sounded perfect. And
Yeah.
the idea that you can have all three of those is what modern business, I think, feels like, and we've got to put the people as one of those P's in there, like right at the center of the whole thing, the experience of the people.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that makes it so cool, honestly, is they're all about the people. They're all about community. I mean, LA is a hard market, as we know. There's so many sports teams, so much vying for that entertainment dollar. And so to create noise in LA from the get-go, I mean, Michael, they raised $35 million in sponsorship revenue in their first year before they'd even played a game. I mean, they just crushed it. It helps, obviously, when you have Natalie, who's got all her A-list celebrities, and you've got athletes, and you've got Billie Jean King and Lindsey Vonn and Candace Parker, and you go down the list of all these people who want in, these amazing women. So it's just been so fun.
Was it a tough decision for you? Not to get involved, but like,
oh, hell no. They're
no,
like,
it was
hey,
easy. Yeah.
hey, what do you think? We've got Natalie Portman, Jennifer Gardner. They go down the list of all the people, and I'm like, wait, what do you mean? What do I think? Like, I don't even need to see any paperwork.
Yeah,
Yes,
like,
I'm
let's
in.
go.
Of course I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, I
Like, when
can't
you
imagine.
get a great group
Yeah.
of people together, that's the energy behind it. Then it becomes such an easy sell. And then Mia and I, for example, Mia Hamm and I, took it to all the players. We're like, okay, let's find every national team player that's played in LA or was born and raised in LA or has some tie to LA. So within literally 2 hours, every single player was like, in, yes, hell yes,
Yeah,
all
that's
caps,
right.
yes.
Yep.
So,
And which
it
is
was
so
cool.
different than like most ownership courting, if you will, is that there's some sort of convincing that needs to take place for somebody to buy. Like, there's like, okay, well, sounds like a good idea, but how does it make money? Or, I'm not sure if it's, but this was not the case. This is why, like, the idea born out of Abby's, and Abby spoke about the insight that you shared on our podcast earlier. And when she said it, when people share an idea and you go, that's different. Like, only you could kind of figure that out. And when Abby said that, like, listen, Kobe's retirement and such retirement, it's going to look very different than mine.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's when you've earned that insight because you've lived a certain way. And
But
so it's,
the other cool thing is you have someone like Natalie who's done so much, right? Not even in this sports space, but just done so much in life, as we know. For her to go, which is what amazes me, because there's a lot of people in life who go, well, why not? Why don't we have a women's team? Why don't we start a women's team? And then that's it. It stops there, right? They pose the question, but then they go, "Oof, that's a lot of work. I don't know if I want to follow up with that." So they pose the question and then they don't roll their sleeves up. With Natalie, the thing I've loved about her and watching her and Kara and Julie Ehrman is that Natalie posed the question and then did the work to say, "Okay, we're going to get it done." And that's something in itself. And that's what the actual three-part series, the first part of the documentary was about, which is great to see. I just, how they got it done.
So you've been an advocate for women's sport for sure, but you've been an advocate in soccer for a long time. Like, if we can drill right into your hope or your dream or your vision for ACFC or soccer in general and women's sports, like, can you drill into maybe just those first three, like
Yeah.
ACFC, soccer, and then women's sport?
Yeah. Well, ACFC is already realizing it. I mean, our dream has always been to be something that gives and shows the world what's possible in women's sports. I mean, I think we thought we did that in 1999 with winning the World Cup. And then we quickly realized, like, wait, oh God, changing culture takes longer than just one big event to convince people. And to your point earlier, Michael, it's like you don't have to expend the energy on explaining to people within this circle what it is and why you should be an owner. And that's really refreshing because I honestly have spent my whole career expending energy on this is why you should bet on women's sports. This is why you should invest in women's sports. This is why you should invest in women. And now you get to a point in life, thankfully, where you're like, oh, basically Angel City's like, yeah, no shit. Move on. What's the next conversation? What do we want to then scratch the surface of? Like what are the layers we can peel back on the potential that's there? We already get there's potential. What do we want to get out of this? And so when you start from that base and say, "Oh, we're just now climbing. We're not actually having to explain and build and all of those things." Super refreshing, and that's what Angel City is doing, and I think it gives a lot of people a roadmap on how to do that. Um, in terms of women's soccer, I mean, I think it's really interesting time is, like 4 years ago, I would have said to you, yeah, women's soccer is doing well, but there was a but. Now it's women's soccer globally is exploding. And you're seeing it in the numbers, you're seeing it in the sponsorships, you're seeing it in attendance. I mean, it's it's fantastic to see. It's again taken a long time when we thought, back in the 90s, people should have come to this conclusion earlier. But I am happy to see that it's getting there. Um, and especially in Europe, I mean, it's just going bonkers. It's going crazy. And so what you're seeing an energy and enthusiasm at games. So, for example, last summer for ESPN, I called the women's European final. So they have the Euros for the men, which are the European Championships, where they have the best men's team in Europe play each other. Well, they do the same for the women. We had really never covered it at ESPN, and that irked the hell out of me. And so a few years back, I said, this is our last women's Euros we're going to do. We should be doing this. We should be blowing it out of the water and covering it and doing pregame shows and halftimes. And you could get an amazing set of women to come to Bristol and do it. And we could do it from Bristol and then we could go cover it. Anyways, we finally did that and we crushed it. I mean, the numbers were huge. Of course, England wins it in England at Wembley, which is the iconic football, they will say, soccer, we call it, stadium. Their national stadium sold out. I mean, the place was rocking. It very much felt like a 99 moment to me in terms of a cultural shift, in terms of an acceptance.
I Wembley was sold out? No way.
Yeah, Wembley sold out.
No.
80,000 packed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're doing that now. Every time the England team plays at Wembley, they're selling out 80,000 quickly, right? The US went to play them right after the Euros in October. It sold out in 24 hours.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
This is the women too, right? Mind you.
Yep.
So they're, and I'm married to a Brit. When I first, I think I don't know if I told this on the last podcast, but when I first met my in-laws, they looked at me, this is back in the 90s, and they were like, you play soccer? You play football? What? Women play football? I was like, yes.
Wow, yes.
Like what? Like it wasn't, clearly there was not a lot of women playing football back in the 90s in England. So it has been a huge cultural shift. So in terms of where women's sports are, I think soccer is an indicator of that. And you're seeing that in a lot of different countries where, I mean, we've had the benefit of Title IX for many years. And that's why we have so many girls playing. But you're seeing these other countries wake up to the potential behind women's sports. And that makes me happy because now girls will be playing and jumping and throwing and kicking and all these great things that, as we know, produce great humans.
It didn't hit me early in knowing you that you're a visionary.
Am I?
And yeah, like
I
you
don't
see
know.
the future. And like you, at
Oh,
least you've got a vision of how you would like to see it. And then you tirelessly work towards it. You to be in the early 90s, let's call it, before your 1999 USA Women's World Cup win, which you are obviously a key member of. Like, so you are early. And
mm,
did you know that at the time that
yeah.
you had this ability to kind of see a
Oh,
future that
no. No. I mean, did
mattered
I
to you?
know that women's sports should be more supported? Yes.
Did no, no,
Di
no, no.
Yeah.
Did you know that you had the ability to see the future in a way that was compelling to you, and then in a way that was different than other people?
Uh, I don't know if I would have thought of it that way.
Okay.
I mean, the thing that I thought of it as, and I don't know if I would have labeled it as visionary, but I mean, back then we didn't have any data, right? It was mostly anecdotal. So, and that's because no one was collecting it and it didn't have the attention it deserved. But with women's sports in general, I just remember thinking and saying out loud often as part of our negotiations with US Soccer Federation is I don't care if you love or hate women's sports, women's soccer. The point is, I would say to the president, the point is you are missing out on all this potential and untapped potential. Like there's money on the table. There is so much growth that could happen if you just water that garden just a little bit. Like give us some water. Just fertilize it a little bit and you're going to bloom, I'm telling you. And they'd be like, "Yeah, no, it's not gonna happen." Um, and it wasn't until we got some fellow visionaries that were running US Soccer, Sunil Gulati, Alan Rothenberg, who were great businessmen and visionaries. Like, if I could tap into that, I knew, like, okay, maybe they don't wake up thinking about women's soccer, but they get that they're missing out on what the future could look like. And then, I mean, that's when we actually started to swing that pendulum a little bit in terms of support and funding, and they started watering the garden a little bit more.
Watering the garden. I want to come back to finding the fun because it feels like, watering the garden is a very Buddhist way of thinking about cultivating your mind.
Mm,
And so whatever you attend to, you water. So if you attend to a future that is overwhelming, you're watering anxiety. If you tend to the present moment, like you get the idea here. We're either watering
mhm,
weeds or beautiful harvesting beautiful flowers. So when you talk
mm.
about finding the fun or find the fun, where did that come from for you, and how does it show up on a regular basis for you?
It's a good question. I don't know where I have always had a playful, joyful,
Yeah, you have.
some would say annoyingly so, like puppy-ish side to me, Peter Pan, hopefully minus the narcissism, um, side to me. Uh, and I mean, I thank my parents every day because I say, God, to your point, like there are people and for no fault of their own, but their mind goes to, to the barren or to the weeds or to, the anxiety side of things. And and so I don't know. I've always had this idea of I want to combine play and work. I call it plorking.
What,
Um
wait, what do you call it?
plorking. Play and working is plorking.
Oh
I mean,
God.
every trip I can make, I mean, I combine it, and, um, I don't know, I think I was the 4th kid, and so there's probably something in that, if I were really to break it down, like, I think my parents were basically like, "Yeah, you're good. Do your thing." There was not much oversight. So, but yeah, I don't know, I've always uh, sought joy for sure. Like joy has been a huge part of everything I do.
You snuck something in there, and I don't know if it's bigger than it needs to be, but you said, like, I've always had this playful, fun way about myself, even when it was annoying to others, or like you slid something in there, like you've had pushback about it. And my experience is that many people, their buoyancy, whatever their buoyancy is, when it's not like maybe their way that they go through life is more introverted. And then you've
Right.
got some early figures in their life that are like, listen, you need to talk more. You need to be out there. You need to,
Right.
whatever it is.
Right.
And I can imagine that there was lots of heavy blankets trying to cover that buoyant, fun, playful nature that you have. And so
Oh yeah.
how did you
Yeah.
work through that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I had people who would say you need to, uh, you need to, what was the word they'd use? You need to rein it in.
Mm,
I was like, rein what in? F off. I'm not reining anything in. I
mhm,
mean, I joke, I half joke about it being annoying because we once bought Abby Wambach, who is equally vivacious in life and talkative. We once bought her a t-shirt when she got on the team that said, "Help me, I'm talking and I can't shut up." Because because that there gets a point where it's like, "Oh my God, shut up." Like, I don't want to be that like and it's not my joy isn't like the, oh, everything has to be happy, perfect, fun all the time type of joy. Like I'm very real about it. I never want to be like, life is perfect. Everything is great. Those people. How are you? Oh my gosh, I am so fantastic. And you're not, right? No. I think it can probably get a little bit annoying because I run at a really high speed. I mean, I have a really good energy base. I can do a lot of things. I like to move and cruise, really. I don't sit often. So that could probably be a little bit annoying. But
but you had a fire, like when somebody was like, reel it in, or like relax, or whatever they would say. You had a fight about you that was like, I'm not reeling anything in. I'm going to be as big and spirited as I can in life. Is
yeah.
that fair?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you didn't like get that from your parents. Like it sounds like they created the environment where they're like, okay, fourth kid, she's going to do her thing. And that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, look at her go. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Whatever it is. But they weren't
Yeah.
like
They
challenging or
never,
pushing.
yeah, no challenging,
Mhm.
no pushing. I mean, like, and maybe that allowed me to be me, because I didn't have any expectations set on like you need to go to this school or you need to do this sport or you need to play at this level. Like nothing. I mean, that's the difference in today's youth sports, landscape. And I mean, so I think that freedom probably helped me tremendously. But yeah, I mean, to this day, I think it's such a gift. I mean, there was a period in my television career where I cared about what people thought, probably in my 30s. And then I got to my 40s and I was like, yeah, I don't really care anymore. Obviously, you want people to respect you, of course, but there is a freedom to being you, authentically you, and doing you, um, that I I've really been fortunate to find. And I mean I hope it doesn't bring complacency. That's the only thing. I think sometimes you can get complacent with that and overconfident. There's almost a hubris to that. And so I'm really conscious of that too, of curiosity and learning and growth mindset and all those things we talk about often. But there's also a soulfulness to that is soothing and healthy.
Yeah, I don't remember this dimension in our last conversation, that
Hmm.
soulfulness. I'm not saying it wasn't there, but it feels different the way that
Hmm.
you're talking about that. I'm going to use the word again, the buoyancy that is natural to you. And
Mm.
did something in the last 4 years or like earlier, where did that soulfulness, where did you notice that soulfulness begin to be part of the contour of your life?
I think think sports. I think, which is why I've always been such an advocate for girls playing. I mean, there's such a freedom to it and a joy to it. I mean, I've always been part of a team. So regardless of the sport, you have this built-in community, you have this built-in sisterhood, you have a bond, a family. I mean, that in itself, I mean, and all my different teams, and not just, national teams, of course, but, my college team, I'm super tight with still. I mean, my soccerettes that I played Go Green Machine, from, when I was a child, I still have some of those as friends, those teammates. So, I mean, that's the web that kind of weaves everything together, which is why I think I've been such an advocate for girls playing, whatever it is, or moving or sweating, because there is freedom to that. And it shapes, as we know, and Michael, you've lived, shapes everything we do, right? That's the beauty that doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, we get really entrenched in the X's and O's and the wins and losses. And yet the real gift is that you are learning something much deeper and more meaningful than just how to kick a ball or shoot a basket or, all those things that matter, of course, but that's the gift.
The way that I think about the gift there is helping. Sport is a great environment, and so is mentorship as an asset to helping people understand their experience with experience.
Mhm.
And like having there's a thousand different ways that you could see losing and winning. And like sometimes you can figure it out, like what's the most authentic, healthiest response you can have. And sometimes we need some mentorship there.
Mhm.
And like you being a mentor now for, let's say, the next generation, what is your hope for a 12-year-old girl coming up right now?
Mm. My hope is that she still finds that joy. I honestly am super worried about youth sports, having a 14 and 16-year-old in the heart of it, because we have really managed to suck the joy out of it. And so my hope is that she finds that freedom, she finds that joy, she finds that confidence. I would say that's probably the biggest driver of my confidence, is that I was super competitive and I could let it out on the field, and there was no one telling me that's not okay to be competitive and speak up and speak out and stand up and stand out. And um nowadays I feel there's just so much pressure in youth sports and playing in college, and so I do think as parents, as coaches, as teachers, like as much as we can to really put that joy back in it is vital. It's funny. I was just having this conversation with my 16-year-old in the car on the way home from a game this past week, and um I've started doing these thought of the days with her. I used to go, lesson number 7,543 coming at you. And she'll be like, Mom, another lesson. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to give you one thought of the day. So my thought of the day this weekend was um, that I really attribute my success, right, with the national team and other things, other areas, in the fact I was telling her, I said, what hit me is that it's never been about what I need to get out of something or what I want personally or the awards I want, right? I was doing a podcast with Sue Bird. Uh,
Legend.
and
Yeah.
yeah, Sue's a legend, right? As you know, and I think you've had her on, of course, Michael. And if not, you should.
Mhm.
But she was saying, and she's won every level. She's won national titles at UConn. She's won WNBA titles. She's got 4 Olympic gold medals and in basketball. And I can't remember my question, but the gist of it was, how have you been so personally successful? And her answer was so great, was that I don't think about it in terms of like, oh, I'm going to strive for this scoring award or this, assist award. She goes, all I think about is I want to win and make my team better. I just want to win. I'm competitive. I want to win. I want to make my team better. And I think today's youth, because of, what what world we're living in with social media, and everything is identified as how many followers, how many likes, your brand, what are you doing? And there's some value to that, of course, but also is that everything becomes so internalized. What am I getting out of it? How am I doing? What schools are looking at me? How many goals am I scoring? That I wanted Izzy to think, my daughter, about like, it's not that. Like, success comes when you just are a great teammate and work your ass off. And people want to be around you and they know that you got their back. Like, you're in the foxhole with them. That's the greatest place they could be because you're going to take care of them. And so I was having that conversation because I do think, lost in this world of you've got to stand out and really make a brand for yourself, is the idea that you also just need to be a great teammate. And then good things happen to you in life. And so that was my thought of the day last week. And that's the thing I want young people to think about as well, because of all those other pressures that really are performative and internalize the performative side of things instead of the real side of things.
Okay. So what does it mean to be a great teammate?
Well, I'll give you some examples of great teammates. Mia Hamm, right? Arguably one of the greatest soccer players to ever play the game. Mia, as we all know in the women's soccer world, but maybe people outside of women's soccer don't know this, superstar, legend, goal scorer, won all these accolades. But the only thing Mia cared about was that she was a great teammate, meaning that she was liked, that she honored you as a fellow player. She brought you along. Like, it was, she never wanted the spotlight. And yet, she had to carry this, this burden of being the star and the player, even though she was uncomfortable in that spotlight. And yet she did such a great job of, in her own kind of cerebral, quieter way, because she was shy, of being a fabulous leader. She taught me a ton about leadership because I always thought, you had to be the one on the top of the mountain shouting down, the one wearing the armband, the CEO, the president, the person in a position of power. Like, no, you can lead in so many great different ways. And her leadership style, was very personal and private and quieter than mine. Of course, I was loudy foudy. So it was such a great reflection on, like, wow. Um, and so I had that as an example. Carla Overbeck, another teammate, our captain, I was her co-captain for many years. Um, just took care of people, like looked after people, made sure that everyone was okay, listened, empathetic. So it's this, and at the highest level, which is always so interesting, right? Because it's this battle of attrition to stay on the team and be individually competitive. But when you can find that balance of also then understanding the we is greater than the me, it's this beautiful mix that I think has probably been the most valuable lesson I've learned in being a good teammate. I mean, it matters. It matters in at ESPN. It matters with who you work with, right? It matters in relationships. So I think it's it's paramount to everything I do in life is you surround yourself with people you want to be teammates with. And how are you making sure you're a good teammate is something I ask my kids a lot.
So that what I hear you talk about is like care, like to care about
Mm.
the other person's experience. And that can be listening. It can be a lot. Care can come in a lot of different forms. Um, and so that would be like the origin. I remember when I was doing some early work at one of the multinational, like large global companies, and we're talking about being great teammates for each other. They kind of looked around the room like, yeah, that's a new thought. This was probably like 15 years ago. That's a new thought. And then someone kind of like looks up and says, well, like, how do you do it? And I said, well, and I'm going to echo what you said. Like, I don't know. It's like you have to really care. You want
Mhm.
to be great for them because like you care about them. And there was like a pause, pause. how do you do that? I was like, oh
Mhm.
God, that's right. Um, we're going to now teach care. And so
Right.
that it seems like foreign, I think, but you bring up it feels foreign to me, like how to teach care. And I didn't know how to answer it. I just was puzzled. So if somebody were to answer or ask you that question, like how do you care? What, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, you're interested in someone. You ask questions. You're curious. You celebrate them. And again, it goes back to the Sue Bird, response of it was never about me. And and it's nothing to take away. I was incredibly competitive. So in a sense, it was about me because I wanted to win. I wanted to perform. I wanted to play. So we're not losing that side of things. But I also was the first one when a player did well or a teammate did well, like, "Hell yes, let's go celebrate that." And so I think that's care is it's just showing that you value them in a way, um, that, sometimes people forget to say it and do it, and it doesn't take long, and it's little things. We talk about it all the time of taking 5 seconds to tell someone, "Thanks for making me better today," for pushing me, um and it's what I talk to with my 14-year-old boy too, because I think boys sometimes think they've gotta be all, "Hey, I'm the man. I'm him." That's what he always says. "What how can you do that? Because 'Cause I'm him, mom." I'm like, "What does that mean? I'm him.
God, I am him.
I am him." I'm like, "Who
Uh,
is him?" He's funny, my 14-year-old. But, yeah, I think just stopping and taking a second to reflect on others rather than yourself.
so there's a the tension point in sport and in business, which is I'm trying to be the starter. I'm trying to get my
Mhm.
minutes. I'm trying to make sure
Yeah.
that I'm closing enough business. Like there's a lot of that I
Yeah.
stuff in there. And so that is the tension point. Like when I was at the Seahawks and there was like um, 12 athletes trying out for 6 spots. And there we're carrying, let's say, 9 of those athletes for those 6 spots. So there's a rotation that can happen at any game, any given Sunday. And one of the things that was like really hard to navigate for folks is that they're doing everything they can to get their reps to be their very best. And at the same time, they need to be part of a team. And so it sounds simple to talk about it in the sterile environment you and I are in right now, but it's really
Mhm.
hard when there's
Yeah.
big emotions. Your life dream is there. You see another person like doing a little bit better or doing the drill better than you are. And if you could just figure it out, like maybe you'd have a chance at the starting job. It's like the margins are pretty thin.
Mhm.
And then at
Right.
the same time, root for that person, to cheer for them,
Mhm.
to nod your head, to
Mhm.
smile, to say afterwards, like, nice job, and to really care about that person's experience. It is harder than it sounds.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
it
I don't know if
it is.
you were always really good though. Did did you have that challenge of feeling like on the outside looking in, or because
Yeah.
that's not how I knew you in pro sport.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, I think I realized I mean, I got on the national team at a really young age as well. So
Yeah.
I had all those insecurities as a teenager playing with women and going, "What the hell am I doing here? And how is this possible?" So I had to fight through those insecurities as well of you know, feeling like I belonged. But what I think I quickly realized is the more I worried about belonging, the worse I did. So if I continued to just worry and think, "Oh shit, what am I doing here? I don't belong here," and have, those downward spiral conversations of, "You stink, you're terrible, you can't kick a ball, you don't have the tactical awareness," all those things when I started focusing on my deficiencies that I perceived, then I knew my stay with the national team would not be very long. And what I realized is that I could still be competitive and fight my tail off, but when I was focused on helping others, I actually took some of the pressure off me. That kinda released that burden of me feeling like this imposter syndrome if I focused on just being a good teammate. And maybe that helps someone in a situation that's similar. But I do think that the two aren't mutually exclusive. You don't, it's not, I'm really competitive and intense, but I'm not a great teammate. You can be both. And I think that's actually the secret sauce to a really successful group.
Coach Anson Dorrance, who was Mia Hamm's coach. I don't
Mhm.
know him, but I was listening to him. I was still in graduate school, and he was talking about um, his experience coaching Mia Hamm, and he said that one of the things that she did that changed the game is that she was going to score. And
Mm,
he didn't say it exactly like this, but my takeaway 20 some years later is that she cared less about the response of her teammates, which early on was like, who do you think you are, dribbling the ball down and putting the ball on net? Like, who do you think you are? Like, this is a team sport.
mm,
And maybe I've got this shaped, differently than it actually happened. But I heard that story, and I thought, oh, okay. So Mia cared more about getting better, or the objective, which is to score. And and then I hear you say, no, I needed to figure out that balance between what are they going to think of me and pursuing my very best. How did you do that? How did you navigate what your teammates were thinking about you? And you might say, no, I really didn't think about them much. Like, I cared about them, but I didn't let what they thought of
mhm,
me get in the way. Can you thin slice or work
mhm.
in those spaces?
Um, let's see. Did I think about how much? Yeah, I did. I definitely did because I was so young. Um, and it's the US team, right? It's like, holy cow, what am I doing here? And so, I mean, I was 16 when I first got on that team. Mia was 15, actually. Christine Lilly was another one who was 16. We were the three youngsters brought in. Uh, but I do feel like that, to my, lesson of the day, thought of the day with Izzy, that my safe place was, I was so competitive. I just wanted to win. And so if I could help the team win, again, it gave me a focus outside of myself. And so I just focused on, I just want to friggin' win. And when we're winning, good things are happening. And I don't know if that's me, good things are happening to me or what, but I just want to be part of the equation that's winning. And I do think it kind of puts blinders on in a good way from the destructive thoughts of, I just want to do whatever I can to help this team be successful. And that's, I think, a large part of my success and a common denominator you hear always on that national team. Like when I look at those teams that won, one so competitive, but also that, like, they care deeply about the collective success. And that is not something we got right every year because we didn't win every year. But I do think when we got that right, we won for sure.
Sounds like it's going to sound super simple, but it sounds like the purpose was really clear to help the team win, and to be a contributor to that was the purpose. And if you work back from that framework, if I have that correctly, then it is not about, like, look at me. It's not about my individual contribution. It's about, like, being a contributor to the purpose. Which, if
Yeah.
I have it right, the purpose is for the collective, uh,
Yeah.
the team to be
Yeah.
their very best. Yeah. Okay. Are you more
Yeah.
interested, Julia, in the team winning or the team performing at their highest level?
Oh, great question. I mean, I would love to say team performing at its highest level, but shit, winning mattered a lot. And I'm always like, let's not focus on outcomes, people. We know that's dangerous. But
Uh-huh.
like winning mattered. I mean, it
Yeah.
did. It did. I did not love my silver medal. I didn't love it. I call it white gold. I call it white gold. More because like the one, so I played in three Olympics. We won gold in the first and the last one. The middle one was the one we won white gold in. And,
Second best
eh
in the world. It's just hard to swallow, isn't it?
ugh,
Second best in
I
the
know,
world.
I told my mom, I was like,
I'm being
I
I'm
don't
being
love
silly.
it." And
No, I
she's
know.
like, come on, you just want silver. I was like, I don't want silver.
Mhm.
But that was because it was probably the best game final we'd played in a very long time against that Norwegian. I won't even say what I called
Gold
them.
medal winning Norwegian
Gold
team.
medal Viking bitches. So, I I, I mean, it was one of the best finals we'd ever played, which is why it hurt so much. So
Mm.
because we played so well and we ended up still with the white gold. But um, yeah, I do think um, as much as we could, and I completely buy into the idea of like outcome. You cannot be outcome related. But the reality was we went into every tournament as a U.S. women's soccer team saying we will be on the top of that podium. So that's just how it is. And if you're not on the top, then the reality is like that's not good enough. So we had high expectations for sure.
I can't help it listening to this conversation and looking at your hat, which says "Be here now," right? And like, which is very different than go get the outcome. And
Right.
it is. I appreciate all of the honesty here because treating those two imposters the same, victory and defeat. Like it. I want aspirationally that feels right to me. And
Mm,
then when I'm in a step down from that, and I feel the anxiousness of not getting the thing that I think is so important for the next phase of my life, but I don't necessarily know like how winning and failure is going to play dividends later. And I do think that some of my most career shifting, life perspective building moments have come out of really hard times.
oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, so it's like at one level when I say it, it sounds so trite, like, oh, of course. But then at a deeper level, it's like, no, no, that's real, and I love winning.
Yeah.
But when I'm at my very best, when I'm at my highest, most free self, I'm not. I look up and it's like the buzzer just happened, and I have no
Mhm.
idea what the score is,
Right.
and because I'm completely in love with the unfolding next moment,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so. Okay, so we're on the same page. It's hard. It is really difficult to do. What are you teaching your kids?
To your point on failure and defeat, every on our podcast, when the last segment we do on the podcast is something that when they were younger, I did a lot around the dinner table. We do it their high of the day, their low of the day. We call it high low cheer. And the cheer is for someone that's helped you along the way, right? So we do this on the podcast. We do high of their career, low of their career, and the cheers for someone who's helped you along the way. Like it's the sense of gratitude for someone, of course. And always on the podcast, the low is what created the high. Almost always. I mean, of course, I mean, failure and extracting that lesson becomes the biggest thing. It's hard to teach a teenager that. It's hard to explain. I mean, we just had a situation with my daughter recently. I mean, as I was saying, youth sports is very intense and she plays for, the highest tier of soccer teams, ECNL level is what they call it. And there's so many different acronyms to it. It gets very confusing. But, she was trying out for a better team and didn't know whether she should or not. Could she make it? And did that mean she would lose her spot on her current team? And it's all these like stressors that these kids have to deal with. And she was getting pressure to sign with the old team. Um, and I said, Izzy, this is such a good lesson for life, right? Like you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to walk to the edge and it's a little uncomfortable and you don't know if you can make that leap, right? In terms of like I'm going to go into this next career, I'm going to try this transition. I don't know if it's going to work out. And so I said, but guess what? You don't know unless you dip your toe in that water. So we're going to try out. We're going to try this new team that is a bit better and see if we can make it. And if we don't, then we know that we tried and you won't have those regrets for the rest of your life. And so I think that's where sports is such a valuable tool is if we can make the link on as parents, teachers, I mean, we could be planting these seeds all the time, coaches of like, this is a great skill set for life. Like it's gonna be scary and you're gonna have butterflies, and that means it matters, and that's a good thing. Let's go try it. And so I said, we gotta try. So, and she tried out for this new team and made this new team, right? And so now we're like, okay, now you know what it feels like. And it's scary, but you did it. You stepped outside that comfort zone and there is magic on the other side. And guess what? Sometimes there's not going to be, and you're going to fall flat on your face, but you won't have those regrets for not trying. So again, I go back to what I started with. The gift of sport is that I constantly am trying to reframe it for the kids in a sense. If it's my son with basketball, right? It's, he was a great passer of the ball and he was a great facilitator. And so my husband and I would have these conversations around the dinner table casually of just like, that's great that you're such a good teammate. But you know what? I think there's the potential for you to be scoring as well, like to step up your game. And so like your game is going to get better when you threaten to score. So people are actually having to defend you and then people will open up so you can pass to them. And unless you're threatening, your passing is going to be more difficult. So having those conversations about how you step into, again, now that's a more like, hey, you're being a great teammate, but now I want you to focus more on like, how are you going to make the team better by being better yourself? And I don't think, again, those are mutually exclusive. I think you've got to constantly be figuring out how you get better to make the group better. But it's got to be about making the group better.
Okay, let's see if we can think through what, I don't know, a 3 to 5 step plan could be for a car ride. And I'm thinking post car ride. So your son or daughter just got done with practice.
Mm-hmm.
And
so like, practice, not a game.
Practice. Yeah, practice.
Practice.
So what do you do? Like where do you start? Do you watch, I'm sorry, do you watch practice or are you waiting in the car?
No, I do not watch practice.
So you're waiting in the car. Do you pick up? I see the pause.
Well, I have a large carpool that we're part of. Thank God. I'm all about the carpool. So, I don't, if I'm just in the car with my kid, if it's like a carpool, it's very different, of course. If I'm just in the car with my kid, so let's say I'm picking up my kid, I will say, how did it go?
Pretty good. It was good.
Right? Yeah, exactly. It was good.
It was good.
And then I usually say, what did we learn today? That's different. There you go.
What did we learn that was different? Okay.
Now I say Mom. That about school too.
Same as school. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's consistent. So it's not like sport has a deeper meaning to you than school. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what did we learn that was new? All right. Cool question. Does that get them going? Does that get either of your kids going?
Sometimes, not always.
Okay. Because I asked a similar question, which was I asked about like, did you have any unlocks today? So we're on the same. Yeah, we're unlocks. On the same kind of.
Okay. I'm gonna start using unlocks.
Yeah, well, you got to explain it to them too. Like, what do you mean, Mom? I'm not picking any locks. Right? The concrete mind of an adolescent. Okay, and then what happens?
And then they usually want to go to their phone, and so I say, "Time out. Give me like 4 minutes. Put the phone down. Let's talk." Oh, that phone, Michael. That's a whole nother podcast, right? The constant battle with the phone. Because mind you, they've been at practice, so they haven't been on their phone for 2 hours, and God forbid you haven't been on your phone for 2 hours. So usually I'm like, just give me 5 minutes, put the phone away, and let's talk. That sometimes works. What I have discovered is when your kid is learning to drive or driving, that's a great time for conversation.
Is it really? Oh, I would.
Yeah, because they can't be on their phone. They're watching the road. They're driving. And so while they're driving, I mean, they can still talk and they're paying attention, but we have a lot of really great conversations because they're not on their phone.
Oh, that is okay. So that's an unlock for me today. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. That's coming soon. Okay. Yeah. And then in that 4 to 5 minute frame, and I love that you time bound it. I mean, that is awesome. So it decreases their anxiety. They know it's a 20 ride, 35-minute car ride home, whatever. Okay, so 45 minutes. And then in that 4 to 5 minutes, what are you trying to help illuminate? Are you trying to share wisdom? Are you trying to just get their perspective? Do you just want them
I've really tried to limit my urge to give feedback, right? Especially in the soccer space, because my
Mhm.
kid is like, look, I know you know soccer. So like, do we have to talk about this all the time? Right. So I really try and just elicit like their thoughts rather than give this like I've tried to really fight the urge to just throw up my thoughts on them and be like, let me hear from you. How was it? What did you learn? What new things are you trying? Those kind of things. That's what I'm going for. Or just like what was the vibe of the team? Like what do the players say? How's the team doing? Those kind of conversations. Like what's the feeling, the mood amongst the group? And do you have a sense of that? Because again, I feel like that is such a part of success of a team, right? If that vibe is good, what did the coach say? Those kind of things.
That's one of my
What do you
favorite
say?
questions, which is like, what did the coach share after practice?
Yeah.
And then I'll say, did you get any, did you get any individual coaching from the coaches? What was that about? And
Mhm.
so like trying to understand. Greg Olson, um, he played at the Seahawks, but he played for, what's the name? Carolina Panthers for a long time. He's one of the top 10 for sure. Tight ends in the league, and he's
Yeah.
coaching youth sport, and he's got this great practice, is that he would pull all the coaches in at the end of practice when the kids would take a knee, and the coach would say, something for 2 to 3 minutes, whatever it is, and he would have the parents make a half circle behind them, so that he's delivering one message to the family. And
Oh,
so the car ride
interesting.
home was really about that message, and so
Oh,
that was a
huh,
really good
I like
practice.
that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really good practice. All right, cool. Do you have as we're wrapping it up here, do you have a moment on the car ride home where you're like, oh, I wish I could take this one back?
Yes. Oh, well,
Yeah,
of course. I think we all parents do.
I do too. Yeah.
Uh, you know, I this happened recently, actually, and and my husband and I were in the car together, and I think I reacted to something a little strongly, and my husband shot me that stink eye of like, "Too soon, not now." Like, like, nuh-uh, don't do that not right now, not in the car ride home. Um, so yeah, of course you do. But I think the thing that I mean, and another thing I really lock in on is during a game watching. It's never like instruction to my kid. I really try. Like if I'm going to say anything from the sidelines, it's to the collective or it's congratulating other players, like celebrating other players. Great pass, Michaela. Good shot, McKenna. Way
Mm-hmm.
to go win. Like
Mm-hmm.
and I think locking in again on the collective and the power of that and giving that example as a parent rather than like hollering at your kid. Um, so that is something I really lock in on. But I've really tried. I just think like you cannot in that moment of whether you win or lost, right? Especially if you lost, like just like save it for at least 24 hours and then you can always come back to it when you're in a better space. Like your kids in a better space and I mean that's true of anything in life. I think you need to give that 24-hour window, but I really try and honor that.
I, it's funny you say that because I know that to be the case. And then 24 hours later, it's like, I'm less interested.
Yeah.
They have
Well,
zero interest in it. They've moved on
right.
to whatever. And so for a lot of reasons, it's a really good marker.
Right,
And
exactly. You're like, "Why did I care so deeply about
yeah,
that
what was going
yesterday?"
on
But
with
now I'm
me?
like, "Who cares?" Yeah,
Right.
exactly. "Are you okay?" That's what I often think. "Are you alright, parent?"
To parent, yeah, I know. Yeah, and I love the insight. Like at games, it's more about the collective, or supporting everybody, as opposed to anything that has to do with my son. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, okay, quick hits. You ready?
Yes,
Okay, this is like answers
I
in one or
think.
two, 1 or 2 word answers. Okay,
Okay.
don't have too much fun
Wait,
here
I
because I
gotta
know
lock
it's
in, I gotta lock in.
yeah. I
Be here now.
know.
I'm in.
Be here now. All right, good.
Got my power pose going.
Uh
Okay.
huh. Okay.
This is where I get competitive. See? I get competitive. I'm like, "Let's go."
It's good. Perfect. All right. It all comes down to
It all comes down to joy,
living the good life is marked by
laughter,
success is
doing something significant, choosing to matter
pressure comes from
within, of course.
blank will win the 2023 World Cup.
Oh, damn. Germany. I know.
Who tells you no? Not those people that told you to reel it in. They did
Who
not.
tells me no?
They did not win there.
My dog, Swaggy.
Oh, God.
Every day. Nope, I'm not walking this way. Nope.
Wait, what is your dog's name?
Swaggy. Swaggy P.
It's perfect. Of course it's Swaggy. Did you
Swaggy.
did you identify with swag? Like that is that where that came from?
There was a basketball player that played for the Lakers named Swaggy P. There was a friend of ours naming their dog Swagger. We're like, oh, we're gonna steal that. Well, we're gonna call her Swaggy D, Swaggy Dog, instead of Swaggy P. So, yeah, so
Perfect.
Swaggy. She's got a lot of swag.
Did you have swag when you played?
No,
No, you had no swag.
No swag.
That's so funny.
Still no swag.
Yeah. Okay. And then last one. What would you title this conversation?
Thoughtful. You're always thoughtful, Michael.
Thoughtful.
I love that.
Good one.
About
Thank
you.
you. Oh, thank you.
Your podcast, what you do, how you live, is thoughtful. You make people stop and think, and I am not great at that. So I appreciate you for going, wow, how did you do this? And why did you do wait, I don't know, Mike.
I don't know. Like I was just doing my thing.
Yeah, it's just
so
doing.
All right. Well, thank you for everything that you stand for, the beacon that you are in your life for so many people, the consistency in how you line up your words, your thoughts, and your actions is super. It's like it's so easy to see that. Yeah. And it's refreshing. So where do you want to drive folks? Where's the best place to guide them?
Go check out the podcast, Laughter Permitted with Julie Foudy. Yeah. Check out our Leadership Academy. We've been doing this incredible, using sports as kind of the vehicle to teach leadership to young girls. JulieFoudyLeadership.com. We do that every summer. That's kind of my passion project. So check out Angel City. You don't have to check out me. See, again, I don't
see. Just keep
it
pointing.
Doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah, like point to others, not yourself. Who cares what you're doing?
So you've done over 100 episodes, right, on Laughter Permitted. What's
all women too? All women.
All women.
All women. Yeah, basically, I can't remember if I said this in the last podcast, but I'll say it again. But basically, the idea started because ESPN had podcasts, but they were obviously mostly male listeners, mostly male guests, and so I think I told you this because I know I met you originally through Carrie Walsh Jennings.
That's right.
And so our first two podcast guests to convince ESPN, we were like, well, first of all, I didn't want to do a podcast. And my producer at ESPN was like, you need to do a podcast. They're so much fun. And we'll just do all these amazing women. So the two of us asked Mia Hamm and Carrie, who both lived like 2 blocks from each other at the time in Manhattan Beach, if they would be our guinea pigs. And we did like 2 sample podcasts. We sent them to ESPN, and within like a day, they were like, yes, let's go.
Yeah. You've had a bunch of friends. You've had of our friends, like Sue Enquist was on.
Yeah.
Oksana Masters.
Yeah.
April and Alex. You've had
players.
A bunch.
Yeah.
Becky was on our podcast. So was Kelly O'Hara. She was on.
Yeah.
I mean,
we've had all of them.
Yeah, you've had some incredible folks on.
Yeah. So, and that, I mean, like, how can you call this a job? You get to learn from people every day and listen and react. And it's just so much fun. Like podcasts are so fun because as you know, it's like, oh my God, I gotta call this a job today. Like, come
I
on,
know.
that's so much
I
fun. So
know.
that's how I feel when I'm doing it.
So,
They are fun.
so as a reductionist question, like, is there one big takeaway that you know, that you're carrying with you right now that you've learned from all of these incredible women?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing when I look at all of them and their success, I mean, our one requirement is not even that they have to be an athlete. I know it's an ESPN podcast. It's not even that they have to be an athlete. They just have to be a trailblazer. Is our one thing, like in whatever field they are. And I think that's the thing I always come back to is the courage it takes in those moments when everyone else is saying something different. And you inside, like, no, no, I know this is right. And I am gonna live this out. Whether it's a dream, whether it's helping someone, starting something, making that leap and getting to that edge. And and the ways in which they summon the courage to get it done or to be the best version of themselves is what always fascinates me. So that's a lot. I mean, we rarely talk X's and O's, right? We're not breaking down tactical stuff. It's life and what you're learning out of it. And as we said, your low often becomes your high, and that's how they learn is they probably go through a lot of lows as well.
Has somebody interviewed you? Have one of these incredible women interviewed you? Because I think that the narrative that you just described is exactly who you are. And
Yeah.
like, have you had the mic turned on you on yours?
Oh, yeah, occasionally they'll start asking questions, and I'll be like,
Yeah.
excuse me, I am the
Yeah. Right.
host of this podcast. I ask the
Yeah.
questions."
Laughter
I think
permitted.
Inquist probably did that because she's always asking questions. She's so curious. I love
Yeah,
her.
she's so good. All right,
Yeah.
Julie, always a blast. Appreciate you and
All
looking
right,
forward to seeing you
Michael,
soon.
good to
Yeah.
see you. May it be
Okay.
before Paris in 2024, bro.
Let's do that. Okay.
All
All
right.
right. Take care.
See
Bye.
ya.
Bye-bye.